Hour 2 starts right now.
Cause we take this job so serious.
The is that? Sorry, pardon me. My apologies.
What in the all types of blue hell?
This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson.
Y'all see that pretty face? That's who I'm honoring the entire show because this would have been her 11th birthday. Look at that face. Look at that face. Look at that smile. This one's for you, baby girl. I love you very much and I miss you very much. Hour 2 of Snowman in the Morning is underway, and this portion is presented by Invader Coffee. Invader Coffee aims to serve only the highest quality organic air roasted coffee beans sourced from free trade farms all over the world. The best coffee at an affordable price. Log on to invadercoffee.com, place your order. Use the code Snowman for 15% off. Invader Coffee, fuel for the fearless. This is Ladies Hour here on Snowman in the Morning today, and the young lady that I have for you is a very dear friend. I've known her 8 years now, and she called me one night while I was living in LaPorte, Indiana, and said, I need you to sit in for me. Like, huh? Yeah, I need you to sit in because my regular radio partner couldn't make it. Okay. Do you know we laughed the entire show? I didn't think we'd make it through. I didn't know what was going to be thrown my way. But she has been a very staunch supporter of everything that we do. And she has been a very staunch supporter of yours truly with everything that's happened to me and me meeting my wife and everything. And I am so thrilled to have her right now. Please help me welcome the lovely Pamela Michelle. She joins me right now. How you doing, my dear?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm better. I'm back in the
Good.
chair. I'm doing my show. I'm doing better. That night you told me I need you to sit in with me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to expect or what to happen because
Not many people do with me, so it's okay.
We're off to a flying start already, okay? I didn't know what to expect, and I said, "All right, the hell with it. Let's see what happens." Because Fish couldn't make it that night. Andrew Fish, fame, mutual friend.
Yes.
Fish couldn't make it that night. We laughed the entire time, folks. Mm-hmm. And I was given, and I usually love these kind of interviews, given no warning. All she said to me was basically what I say when I do my baseball games: sit back, relax, and strap it down. And I'm going, oh boy. And I'm sitting in my office and I'm thinking, okay, how is this gonna go? Man, my stomach hurt that night from laughing.
Yeah. I think those are the best kind of shows too. Like sometimes shows with no plan.
Yeah. You the only thing that this show has is an outline. Everything else that you've seen the show, everything else that happens on the show, we go off the rails anyway.
It's how I work. It's what I like to do. I think the best shows come from that. I mean, you can have an outline and everything, but conversation takes you to where, it takes you. I mean, when you and I just started talking, I was just telling you about what one of my friends was doing for his podcast, 34 hours into it. And like, for all of you who don't know, Kirk Minahan has a show on Barstool Sports, and he's a very dear friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And he said to his producer, who claims to be a baseball guy, that he needs to name the top home run hitters of all time. And he couldn't get number 8.
Which was Jim Thome.
Yes. And he's sitting there and he's naming names, and he's like John Tucker, Clay Fields, and like he's like, naming, not even going in order, just spitting out random names. They even had Jim Thome's wife call into the show, and it's just like at first and then you're listening to it and it's like, okay, he said the name Jim, just tell him to keep on the name Jim. And
Right.
no, they're just letting him go. And I have been watching it, laughing, and 34 hours into the podcast, and I'm just like, he's gonna end up delusional. Like, he's gonna end up broken.
My wife told me first thing my wife told me, she says, I hate baseball. It's too long
Yes.
and it's too boring. And I said, you know what? I can live with that.
Yeah, a
But
lot of people feel that way.
last year she did the sweetest thing for me and gave me a White Sox birthday, a hat,
No, say
a and a history book of the Chicago White Sox. So what do I do, or what am I in the process of doing? Giving her a Colts anniversary.
oh say there you go. There you go.
It's one of the
You
rules.
can't go wrong.
It's one of the rules of the household. Okay, when Jody and I met, we came up with 5 rules for the household, and the reason we did that to take to take a piece from your Pamela Michelle show. The reason we did that is because before we met, we had a lot of people tell us what was wrong with us
Yeah.
and what we could do, what we couldn't do, and we decided, you know what, we're just going to own it, turn it
Mhm.
around, and have fun. So we came up with 5. So we came up with 5 rules. The first 2 are interchangeable, and those are the 2 I bend the most. Rule 1: the wife is always right, and the
Okay.
second one, to use Jody's words, quote, "You have the penis, therefore you're always wrong." And when she came up with that, and I laughed my head off the night she came up with that, and she says, "I hope you know I'm kidding around when I say that."
Yeah.
I said, baby, keep going with it. All right. I said, keep going. The third one, our sweet little dog, Lucy, but sweet little dog, but the dog's an idiot.
Yeah.
Is the third rule.
Some pets are just not that bright.
we, have, we got Lucy. We got 3 little kittens here in the house. The fourth one, chocolate fixes everything. And there is all sorts of truth to that. And
Hmm.
the fifth one, I'm wearing it. The answer is always the Colts. Now, for those of you who know me, I bend the hell out of this rule on Sundays because normally the Colts play at 1 and then the
Yep.
49ers play at 4, in which she gave me this for a Valentine's present
Oh,
that
that's
she's going
nice.
to put in she's going to help redecorate my office. My daughter, Cheyenne, gave me this for Christmas.
Hmm.
And Cheyenne said, "Look, I know you're a 49er fan. Just tell me what you want." And I told her I wanted that cup. But like you said, and I know you've been at this a while, as have I, the best interviews happen when there's a subject, but
Yeah.
then the conversation just takes you all over the place. And you and I
Yeah.
have had many a conversation on and off the air that takes us both all over the place, and we're both laughing.
Hmm.
And it's the most. I always have a fun time when I'm hanging out with you. I mean that.
Well, I appreciate that. I have fun too.
Now, how did you find your way in front of a microphone? And how did this? I gotta
Um,
catch the people up because they haven't been on in a while.
Yeah,
How'd you
I
find your
tell
way in
this
front of a microphone?
story a lot. I was actually going to school in Boston at Northeastern University. I was
Hmm.
going to be a pharmacist.
Yeah.
And one day when I was at the pharmacy, I was looking around and I'm like, these quarters are so closed. Like everything is just so like just small and I there's just no fun. None.
Right.
And I mean, pharmacists don't get paid enough to deal with what they deal with. They
True.
just don't. I've worked it. Believe me when I tell you, these people are not getting paid enough. They are the middleman between the patient, the doctor, and the insurance company,
Yep. They're right in the
and
middle of it. They're right in the
they're
middle
right in
of
the
it.
middle of everything. And so I decided I didn't want to do that, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I went and I was working at a club, and then that was fun. And I had met somebody who worked for WEEI in Boston. And so we had many conversations. And he's like, you know what? You're a really funny girl. I said, thanks. I'm me. That's it. It's like I can't help the things that come out of my mouth sometimes. I have a very strong opinion about things. And he was like, you'd be good on the radio. And so I said, you know what? I might give that a try. And I literally call it my Legally Blonde moment, because one day I just woke up and said, I think I want to do radio. And a couple of days later, he told me that the girl that was on the show he was on WEEI at night called Planet Mikey quit, and they were looking for somebody, and he suggested me, so they had me come in and do the show. And it was right when Deflategate was happening, and it was just off of like the Patriots Giants Super Bowl and all that good stuff, and I'm a Giants fan, and
Perfect
they were
storm.
just like, it was the perfect storm of everything. And so they had asked me, he threw me under the bus totally. He's like, she's not even a Patriots fan, she's a Giants fan. They're like, how did you become a Giants fan? And I'm like, what can I tell you? I'm a girl that likes the D. And they went crazy, and everybody laughed. Like, of the producers, they were going just out of their minds. And then the next day they had another girl on, and while the other girl was on, they were like having fans call in saying, where did Pamela Michelle go? Like, where did she go? And I felt terrible for this girl, like absolutely terrible. And then they had another girl on, because it was just auditions. And
Yeah.
every girl that week that got called in, they were like, is Pamela coming back? Is Pamela Michelle coming back? And these poor girls had to sit there with people calling, asking for me. And that was just from one time of being on the air. So then the producers and the programming director had called me in. They met with me, and they were like, we really can't pay you a lot. And I'm thinking, I would do it for free. I get to say I'm on WEI in Boston.
Right.
Like, that's not a joke radio station. Like, at
No.
the time, it's a decent sized market. I mean, it's not New York or anything like that, but WEEI was at one time considered a very big, respectable station. Not so much now, and that's a whole other history for it, because they're getting their ass kicked by the sports hub. But I mean, I had no training, no, and that's what a lot of people hated too, is that I didn't go to school for broadcasting.
Right.
I had no training. I literally woke up and said to my friend Chris Villani, who was on that show, I said, you're right, I think I might want to do radio. I think that could be fun. And when I went in there, had that one show, it was on a Tuesday. 3 days later, people were calling, still saying, they're like, all right, let's bring Pamela back on Monday and let's see what happens. So they brought me back Monday and Tuesday. And then the Tuesday that I was back, I it was also the host's birth. It was also the host of the show's birthday. Mikey
Mhm.
Adams had his birthday, and I ended up taking the song "Bad Bad Leroy Brown" and singing it on the air and rearranging all the words to like make it tailored to Mikey's birthday. And I used everybody's name at the station. And the next day they called me and told me that they thought it was ballsy and very genius, because I incorporated sponsors, I incorporated the morning show host names, the afternoon show host names, all in that Bad Bad Leroy Brown song for Mikey Adams. And they hired me.
Now, when I go to the doctor later this morning, I know I'm gonna have to look up that song and play it in the car when Jody's driving me to the doctor. And when I hear it, and she's what,
Yeah.
and
And
she's
that's
like, "What's prompted this song?" I said, "I'll have to explain this to you."
the last half hour. We were on from 6 to 10 at night. And what the co-host Mike Manansky, he said to me, didn't you say during the break like you had a song that you were going to do? I'm like, you know what, it was just something I was playing around with. And
Yes.
when we got back on the air, he told Mike, he's like, you know, Pamela Michelle had a song that she had written for you. And I'm like, well, I didn't technically write it, I rearranged the words. And they were like, do you want to sing it? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I kind of got not bullied, but kind of like goaded into singing. They're like, "Oh, come on, how bad could it be?" And I
You got
sang it a
tricked.
cappella, and it
You
was
totally got tricked into that.
I did, and like I said, the next day I got hired, and I did that for about 2 years, and then the show got canceled. They were doing reprogramming and everything, and they weren't going to give me my own show. They will never on that station give a woman a single show. They have women as co-hosts,
Right.
sidekicks. Technically my job was supposed to be what they called a textress.
Mhm.
And what I did was I read all the texts and emails and everything that came in from the fans of the show. But then I ended up always like chiming in with my own thing. And but the show got canceled after, like I said, 2 years of me being on, and then I ended up in Vegas. So
Man, when you
I was very lucky.
when we hung out that one night, and I had to sit in for Fish. I think I was nervous for all of 30 seconds, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be, okay, this is going to be nervous, but I'm going to have fun with it. Whichever way she goes,
Yeah.
I'll go the same way. Man, when I tell y'all, and I have to find that interview, man, when I tell y'all that when we did that show, and she asked me, because I had a game to do the next day. She said, "How long can you stick around?" Like, I'm here for the duration. I I didn't think we'd ever get off the air because we were laughing so much and
Yeah.
throwing any and everything at the wall
Everything.
to see if it sticks. It stuck. That
It
whole
does. I
show
mean, it's just the way things happen. Like I said, I mean, sometimes it's amazing the direction that the show will take you. And that's why I like the outlines. I mean, I worked with somebody who did a show in Vegas, and they were all about make sure we got to hit this. We make sure we got to hit
Mhm.
that. And I became so bored with it because I don't work like that usually.
Right,
I'll
right.
go and I'll say, okay, yeah, I get we got to get that point. I get we got to get this point. But at the same time, I just kind of wanted free reign to do me. And that's why what's happening now, it was very scary for me at first
Mhm.
because once COVID hit and sports went away, my sports betting show went away.
Right.
Like everything, I mean, that's kind of who my identity was. I was the sporty diva. I was the fantasy baseball, fantasy football queen. And nobody could, like, I beat all the guys in Vegas and I made them cry. And, we drafted one year with this league for football, and it was one of the toughest leagues I've ever been in. And it was bookies. It was like all these guys who did sports betting for a living. I don't do sports betting for a living. And they're like, "Do you want to be in our league?" I said, "Sure." And they explained to me how it was. And basically you drafted your roster in a bench. You could not drop anybody. There were no
Oh
trades.
no.
Yes. There were no trades. None. And you had to pick very wisely because if your player got hurt, you could not drop him to pick up anybody else. Like it was a no drop league, and luckily I won that league that year. Everybody laughed at me. I had Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning as my quarterbacks, and I won that year because that same year was Zeke Elliott's rookie year and David Johnson. I won my fantasy football league because of Ezekiel Elliott and David Johnson. It didn't matter what Ben Roethlisberger did for me, what Eli Manning was going to do. And oddly enough, I picked up both quarterbacks, and then everybody started laughing because Roethlisberger and Eli had a bye the same week. So there was one week I played no quarterback, and I still won. Still won.
The I only played fantasy football one of two times. 1998, 2018. 1998, I was living with my parents, and I told the folks in charge, "Look, just queue up an auto draft. All right?"
Yeah.
I wasn't going to see who my team was until I got home from work the next night because I was right in the middle of the order because I had signed up late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who were my two quarterbacks that year? Peyton Manning and Steve Young. What?
I had Peyton Manning once, And that was when he had his breakout, when he had that record-breaking season after he came back from surgery.
Yeah.
And that was his record-breaking season. I had the number one pick in the draft, and I hate going number one. I actually prefer last.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like number one at all. And
Mhm.
everybody was like, okay, who are you picking? I'm like, I'm picking Peyton Manning. And everybody laughed. They're like, reach. Oh my God. Why are you picking a quarterback first? You normally
Right.
don't pick a quarterback till like at the earliest, maybe the 5th round. Like, you just don't do that. And my brother was in that league, and he was just making so much fun of me. He's like, wow, you really don't know what you're doing. I'm like, no, I really kind of do. I couldn't tell you. He's like, do you realize that Peyton just had surgery? Like, he's coming off of surgery. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I said, and I didn't know why it was so strong in me that I had to do it, because it isn't like I was I was a fan of Peyton Manning's play itself, but I
Right.
wasn't like a fan of the Colts at the time or
Mm.
anything like that, or the Broncos. Like, I just never, just Peyton himself. And so he broke all these records, shattered all these things. I want to say about week 6 or so, my brother made a whole post in the league about how everybody laughed at me. And I'm the only one undefeated because Peyton Manning is single-handedly winning me my games.
The year I had Peyton Manning and Steve Young, I didn't know what to expect from either one of those two. As
It's
much
tough.
I've been a 49er fan since 1981. Joe Montana is the king for me, okay?
Yeah.
And Steve Young showed up. I didn't know what he was going to do. Then 1992 happened. 92, 3, and 4 happened. Of course, they won Super Bowl 29.
Yep.
And then 1998, I'm doing this auto draft, okay? I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to have that many players because I'm picking right in the middle, and all of the best players are going to be gone. Yeah, 3 players won me that league. 2 of them were
Mhm.
49ers, Steve Young and Garrison Hurst, who just happened to be the 3rd leading rusher in the league in 1998. The other player that won me that league, Peyton Manning. And they played each other one
Yeah.
week. They played each other 1 week. So I had to make a choice. I flipped a coin. I said, you know what? I'm
Yeah, you
going with
have
Steve
to.
Young. I'm going with Steve Young. And the fellow in charge says, why are you going with Steve Young over Peyton Manning? I said, it's at Candlestick Park. There's something screwy that's going to happen in
Yeah.
the game. Well, what if Manning gets out to a big league? And I literally said, quote, Steve Young will bring him back. Well, wouldn't you know it, the Colts got out to a big lead. I'm sitting
Mhm.
there watching. My dad comes by my room, peeks in, and he says, you think Steve will bring him back? I don't think it. I know it. He sat under Joe Montana for 4 years.
Yep.
They won the game, and the fellow in charge of the league called me, and his only question to me was, how the hell did you know? I said, I
You
went with
don't.
a gut feeling.
And that is exactly what I tell people betting in general is all about. I'm
Mhm.
doing a March Madness bracket, and people are just like, I don't know college. I don't watch college. I said, let me just tell you something. I can give my aunt Suzanne, who has no idea about anything, and she could pick teams either based on their names or the color of their uniform, and she might do better than you, who's watched games all year. And it's the truth, because if you think about it, March Madness brackets, you're really just doing a 50-50 shot for
Yes.
each. And
Yes.
if everything falls the way it is, you could be the top analyst in the country,
Mhm.
and you could just get a complete bracket bust
Mhm.
on your first day.
The year that
On your
Nevada
first day.
the year that Nevada, Las Vegas won it all, 1990,
Hmm.
I said
I was
UNLV
3.
would win. I said UNLV would win, and people are throwing Duke at me. They're throwing Arizona at me.
Hmm.
I said, how are you going to compete with Tark the Shark? Yeah, me and my big mouth. Nevada, Las Vegas won, and they won the week my parents were in Vegas on vacation.
See, there you go. It's a feeling. It's sometimes you just don't know why you want to do this bet a certain way. Sometimes you have no idea what's telling you, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
And yes, some of it is education by watching the game, some of it is having sports knowledge, but a good amount of it isn't. And people hate when I say that, but it's the truth.
It
I
is.
mean, you can look at a team on paper and it can be the strongest team. I mean, the Yankees have had that problem for how many years now, where
Mhm.
they have had the best team on paper, and you're like, okay, well, who's going to compete with the Yankees? They bought their team again, and they're going to win the World Series, and then they barely can even get out of the ALCS. But they have the best team on
Then they
paper.
run into Yordan Alvarez and the Houston Astros.
Right? No, it's like I'm telling you, like paper doesn't matter. These games need to be played. It's why the expression any given Sunday
Mhm.
should scare people. And
Uh,
it should, because you can have the worst team ever and you're like, okay, they're tanking. They're giving up. And all of a sudden they win that game for no good reason.
mhm.
None at all. And yes, there are teams that are consistently bad. And those consistently bad teams also have a habit of breaking what shouldn't be. Just like when the Giants did play the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and I argue with Patriot fans all the time. They're like, "Oh, the Patriots are like the Miami Dolphins. They went undefeated." I said, "No, they didn't go undefeated. They didn't win the Super Bowl. The Dolphins won the Super Bowl when they went undefeated. So it
Yep.
isn't a perfect season," which is why my favorite T-shirt is, um, it's the Patriots on there, and it says, "What was it? Something about a perfect season, one giant loss." And it's just like it's the perfect T-shirt because it's true. It's
Mhm.
like you didn't have the perfect season. You had an undefeated regular season,
Yep.
obviously a playoff season because you got to the Super Bowl, but you lost to the New York Giants, so your season wasn't perfect. And I don't want to hear that, the Miami Dolphins played less games. It doesn't matter. You could have thrown a couple more games to even it up. Nobody knew that games were going to be added to this football schedule going down the road. They went through their regular season, regardless of how many games that they were undefeated in the regular season and then won the Super Bowl. That's the perfect season. The perfect season doesn't count unless you win everything.
Absolutely. Oh man, the lovely Pamela Michelle joining me here as we kick off the second hour of Snowman in the Morning. My dear, it's been an absolute delight. I got to have you back again.
Absolutely. Just tell me when.
Okay. Take a pause for a break, and when we come back, we're going to move the ball with Jennifer Garrett after this.